Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Ghosts and Spirits video. Alright, one last one here for this series, and then I'm going to give it a slight rest and then start focusing on the Aliens and UFO series next. So be on the lookout for a suggestion video for that one. This one is a suggestion that harkens back to one of my favorite topics involving really creepy dolls. You know that I've focused several past videos on it. They've become some of my more popular videos too. So anytime I come across a suggestion like this, absolutely, I will definitely include it here. And the reason why I'm especially including it in the Ghost and Spirit series is the idea that there may actually be a spirit trapped within this particular doll to this day, and I'll explain the whole history of it and why the spirit could be trapped there. A little tragic when you think about it, but you'll know the whole story here in a minute. It has to do with this doll called Letta the Doll. Now that is not its official name, Letta the Doll. It's probably some other type of doll that had a name. Who knows when it was first created, but at least for all intents and purposes today, that is the current title or the current moniker tied to the doll itself. Right away you'll see that it is absolutely a creepy, very creepy doll. It has those extreme marionette features that focus so much on exaggerating features within the face. That's the style that marionette dolls tend to have. They take the average human face, and instead of making it, I guess, let's say something along the lines of far more peaceful looking. No, instead they do extreme contorted features such as the cheekbones, the nose, the eyebrows, the chin, and then that way you'll essentially see it as a whole different style. Interestingly enough, I mean, this marionette style, we even see it to this day today. Like, I'll just throw up this example here from the Clone Wars, and you'll realize that the style has never gone away, really. Even though obviously the puppets are no longer really a popular item to work with today, still the style associated with it is around. So what is the history of Letta the Doll? How did it come to be? To this day. Well, here is all the information tied to it. It almost seems like it's a little too good to be true. So as always, with this information, you want to make sure that you take it with a little bit of grain of salt, at least when it comes to the sources that generated it, who knows how far back. But it all started in the early 1970s. There was this guy named Kerry Walton, who you're looking at a picture of here. During that time, he was in his early 20s. He happened to be coming back to his hometown called, get this, it's called Wagga Wagga. Like, that's the name of it, Wagga Wagga, located there in Australia. And the reason why he was going there was because he was coming back home to attend a funeral of sorts. When he did so, he realized that he always wanted to take care of one thing having to do with an old abandoned house that was located near where he lived. I guess when he was growing up in that area as a kid, that old abandoned house had its own folklore of sorts. It's one of those deals where we all have in our own hometowns a location that you've heard of that has so many rich stories tied to it, spooky stories tied to it. So in this case, when he was back home, he decided, you know what, now that I'm here, let me go ahead and see if I can finally just visit the home. I guess he've always wanted to do so. This was his opportunity now that he was back. And when he did so, he entered it. He passed through the usual stuff associated with a long abandoned home, lots of thick, I guess, areas of dust, lots of cobwebs, dilapidated stuff. And then when he came across a certain, I guess you could call it a room of some sort, he was surprised to find that there were a pair of eyes, like childlike eyes, creeping back at him. And when he did so, he was a little taken back at first because he thought it was a small dead child. But no, once he got upon a closer inspection, he saw that it was this thing. So I don't know why the impulse in him happened right then and there, but even though he was in an area that he knew all those years were reported to be haunted and it had that folklore status tied to it, he decided right then and there, even with this marionette doll looking as creepy as it looks, he grabbed it. He just pretty much grabbed it straight from the home and then took it back to his home, and that was it. In fact, the first night that he was with the doll, He even had it close to his location, but even then he was saying that, and this is the way he tells the story, I guess, even after all these years. He said that whenever he got that doll and it was not too far away in his house, even then he was feeling some kind of, I guess, connection to it. Like he started to grow uncomfortable at the fact that it was pretty close to him. He didn't want it that close for whatever reason. So he got up, he placed the doll inside a bag, and then he put it under his house, with the idea being that he was now going to sell the doll. Whoever was going to offer him some money for it, he would be now more than happy to get rid of it. So again, it made you scratch your head if you're wondering if he's A, why, back into a haunted house, and then B, seeing this creepy looking doll, knowing the notoriety associated with that house, why he grabbed it, and then now C, he's going to try to get rid of it. It makes you wonder why he went through all that work in the first place. But there he was. He found someone that was wanting to buy the doll. I don't know how he was able to sell it. Back then, maybe he put in an ad, maybe he, I guess, started asking around, who knows. Someone, though, was able to show some interest. But the curious thing was when he went to that place, wherever I guess the prearranged place was, to sell the doll, he himself, this guy Carey, actually broke the deal. Whatever this doll was, it seemed to have now, it seems like a grasp on him. He could not part with it. He decided, you know what, I'm going to take this doll back home and I'm going to keep it. And he's actually had it ever since then. We're talking since the 70s. I mean, this is how long that he's had this doll now. So now that he decided to keep it, he decided to go ahead and get some good information off of the doll, see exactly where it's from, what happened to it, maybe even try to tap into some other, I guess, supernatural resources, try to find out what the doll is in particular, like why it seems to have this grasp on him. He took it first to some museum. I don't know exactly what the name of the museum was, but the museum was able to give him some information on the history of the doll. They said that based on the doll's look, and I guess based on the material that it was made in particular, based on the nails that were used within the bottom of the doll's feet, as you'll see here, they stated that the doll is probably about 200 years old, roughly around that time period. And then also, based on the look of the doll, on the marionette face, that it probably descended from Eastern Europe. But here's where things get extra creepy. It was discovered that that doll's hair, the one you're looking at right now, is actually real human hair. So that was a feature that I had mentioned in some of my other past videos, how some of the dolls made did have real hair. But where things go to another level is the fact that underneath that hair is actual scalp, like human scalp. So not only was the real hair attached to the doll, but it was attached through what was the remains of a human scalp. And then it was also discovered that there seems to be something within the doll itself, like some kind of matter of some sort that in all likelihood is a part of a human brain. So how even further creepy is that, the idea that not only is it real hair, but underneath it is a real scalp, like let's say the scalp of a human that was just scalped, and then on top of that, somewhere underneath there is a piece of something that people would think is part of a human brain. No doubt it's already been fossilized, mummified, whatever you call it now, but it's apparently it's still there. And then as far as the supernatural resources, he took the doll to a pair of psychics because he wanted to again get down to the bottom of things and wonder why this doll seems to have this I guess eerie sense to it, like why it almost feels alive. And one of the psychics said that it was made by a doll maker. I guess whatever powers they had, they used it to try to see and tap into the doll's history. They said it was made by a doll maker who apparently lost his young son. And so this doll maker made this doll, in essence, to try to, I guess, pass and harbor whatever soul his young son had, and however tragic way he died, over into the doll itself. Apparently that was an idea, too, that happened way back when, where if you were in a situation just like that, if you wanted to continue the essence of the son or daughter that you just lost, then you could create a doll maybe within a quick period after death, and then utilize, as strange and as, I guess, grotesque as it sounds, utilize some real portions of your son or daughter within the doll itself, and then that way you could have it transferred whatever its essence was transferred into the doll, providing it a new home in your home. And so that's what the psychics think exactly happened. This doll was created after the guy's death, the doll maker's son's death, and then the doll maker used parts of the son in order to transfer the essence of the son to the doll. And that's why to this day people think that there's something real, and when I say real, like alive, within the doll. So here are the activities that people say happen with the doll to this very day. Apparently it's not nothing malicious. You can visit the doll. The doll is showcased. Obviously, you've seen pictures of it where it's showcased on TV, and then no doubt he probably travels around with it in conferences and then brings it out, I guess, at events. But apparently these are the actual items that have occurred, or instances that have occurred whenever the doll is brought out. With dogs, the dogs go into some strange hysterics at the sight of the doll. They actually try to snap and then bark really heavily at it, and it's almost in the sense that they would physically attack the doll if they weren't being restrained at the time. On top of that, some people have reported whenever they see the doll for the first time, they inadvertently let out some kind of gasp, like these is something like a inadvertent reaction, like it's completely uncontrolled, like just the sight of this thing brings out a gasp within people because they're looking at something that doesn't it looks eerie, but it's not that. It's the fact that there's something real behind those eyes. Other women have also wept openly at seeing the doll. Some of them just fainted altogether. As far as the physical stuff within the doll, those that have hung around it have said, just like some of the other dolls I mentioned in the past, that it moves on its own. It changes position. You can leave it one way, and then this doll will also have a different position whenever you come back. And then people that hold it state that whenever they do so, they feel this doll, quote unquote, pulsing. Like it's like, let's say if you were to hold on to a young child, you can feel the heartbeat, you can feel, I guess, the lungs expand, you can feel the child being alive, in other words. And that's also what's happening with this doll too. Also, with regards to the eyes that look very, very lifelike, there's the idea too that the eyes, if you stare at it, it does feel like something is staring back at you. And then on top of that, that the eyes will kind of follow you. If you move across, let's say, the room, it'll just look at you and it'll look like the eyes are following you. There's that notion, of course, that it's just a natural thing. Whenever you're staring at a painting, for example, and it has the eyes in a certain position, it'll feel like it's always following you. But this one is a different feel. Like, again, something is behind it that is truly alive. But as far as just one last thing, why it's called Letta in terms of its, I guess, impromptu name, here's the idea. The guy, Carrie, decided to just call it Letta, short for being Letta Me Out. Because he when he took to heart the notion that the psychic said that yes, the young son from the doll maker is there within the doll and in some essence trapped within the doll because of his abrupt death, and this is his only way to live, quote unquote, live going forward, then he feels like this essence within the doll is trying to always get out, or is a little frustrated at the situation and trying to get out. So that's why he calls it Letta, which is short for Letta Me Out again. So alright, so if anyone has any other history tied to Letta the Doll, please post those comments below. It would be great to hear. If anyone has visited the doll, I don't know, is it out there, like in terms of a museum? Is it always on display somewhere, or do you have to visit, I guess, the guy's house in order to see the doll? If someone could fill me in on that information, that would be great too. So if anyone has actually seen the doll in person or taking pictures of it, that'd be good information to share too. So alright everybody, thanks again as always, take care.